Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. If you're looking to rapidly expand your understanding of the world, you are absolutely in the right place. Today, we're unpacking a master quiz bank packed with 100 essential general knowledge questions. But we aren't just going to read you a list, we're categorizing and connecting these facts so you can actually remember them. Let's dive in. Here is the roadmap for our 100 questions today. We're breaking this whole thing down into exploring our world's geography, a journey through human history, global religions and cultures, South Asian regional cooperation, the United Nations Organization, and finally, the wonders of science and tech. All right, let's get into it. Kicking things off with Section 1, Exploring Our World's Geography. Let's start by looking at Earth's absolute extremes. You probably know the Pacific is our largest ocean, and it contrasts perfectly with the absolute deepest point on the planet, the Mariana Trench. Up on land, the Nile takes the title for the longest river. But if we're talking sheer water volume, that crown goes to the Amazon. The highest peak, of course, is Mount Everest in the Himalayas, and the largest hot desert is the massive Sahara. Now, what about land masses? Well, Greenland is our largest island, while Vatican City claims the title for the smallest independent country on Earth. Seriously, it's smaller than most city parks. Moving along, let's fill in some borders and unique geographic dividers. Take the Bering Strait, for example, neatly separating Asia from North America, or the equator, splitting our northern and southern hemispheres. Now, did you know Canada actually boasts the longest coastline in the entire world? It's true. Over in Asia, India shares its longest border with Bangladesh. Looking at cultural geography, Japan is famously known as the land of the rising sun, while Venice is that legendary floating city we all know. Oh, and here's a wild one, Lesotho. It's a country that is entirely landlocked and completely surrounded by South Africa. Finally, we can't forget Machu Picchu, that incredible historic landmark perched way high up in Peru. Moving right along to Section 2, Journey Through Human History. You know, history can sometimes feel like this random jumble of dates, right? But if you lay them out on a timeline, they actually tell this incredible story of human progress, discovery, and conflict. Let's start way back in 79 AD. The sudden, tragic destruction of Pompeii by Mount Vesuvius literally froze a moment of ancient Roman life and time. Fast forward to 1215, and we get a massive leap in human governance with the Magna Carta in England, finally putting limits on a king's absolute power. Then the late 1400s brought this huge explosion of global navigation. You've got Columbus reaching the Americas in 1492, and just 6 years later in 1498, Vasco da Gama unlocking a direct sea route to India. This whole era of exploration eventually gives way to massive political upheavals, like the French Revolution kicking off in 1789 and ultimately leading to the devastating global conflicts of the modern era, starting with the First World War in 1914. See how they all flow together? Of course, history is driven by its pioneers. Foundational leaders like George Washington and Thomas Jefferson share the historical stage with ancient icons like Augustus Caesar, the first Roman emperor, or King Leonidas and his legendary 300 Spartans. We can trace monumental shifts across the globe, from the Qin dynasty starting construction on the Great Wall of China to the Bolshevik Revolution completely transforming Russia in 1917. And hey, how about leaping from the ground to the stars? Yuri Gagarin became the first human in space in 1961, and not too long after that, we saw the historic fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989. We also absolutely can't forget towering cultural figures, from Cleopatra in ancient Egypt to Mahatma Gandhi, the revered father of the nation in India. Now, human history is incredibly diverse, which brings us perfectly to our next block of questions. We're stepping away from the battlefields and political dates and moving into the rich, fascinating tapestry of global religions and cultures. Let's break down the foundational pillars of some of these major belief systems. First off, Jerusalem. This city is totally unique because it's considered highly sacred by three major faiths: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Speaking of Islam, we have defining texts and traditions like the Quran and the festival of Eid al-Fitr. Then there's Sikhism, which uniquely reveres its holy scripture, the Guru Granth Sahib, as the eternal living guru. Over in Buddhism, we trace its roots back to Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha, with current traditions represented by leaders like the Dalai Lama. We also have ancient faiths like Japan's Shinto tradition, which centers on worshiping spirits known as kami, and of course, classical Greek mythology ruled from Mount Olympus by Zeus himself. Building on that, let's highlight some specific cultural milestones with a strong focus on Hindu traditions and broader global heritage. In Hinduism, Lord Brahma is recognized as the creator deity, and Sanskrit serves as the classical language of the faith. These deep traditions gave us the vibrant festival of Diwali, the epic narrative of the Ramayana, and historically, India's caste system. But culture isn't just texts and beliefs, right? It's art, it's architecture. Just look at the explosion of creativity during the Italian Renaissance in the 14th century, championed by masters like Leonardo da Vinci, the genius behind the Mona Lisa and the Last Supper. And we can connect that same human drive for beauty to breathtaking architectural achievements like the Taj Mahal, built by Emperor Shah Jahan in Agra, India. Up next, Section 4, South Asian Regional Cooperation, or SAARC for short. So what exactly is SAARC? It stands for the South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation. It was established on December 8, 1985, at a first summit hosted in Dhaka, Bangladesh, and it started out with 7 founding member nations. Today, its permanent secretariat is located in Kathmandu, Nepal. The whole operation is overseen by a Secretary General who acts as the administrative head, really pushing for economic integration. They've established some major milestone trade agreements over the years, specifically SAPTA in 1993 and SAFTA in 2006. So, who actually makes up this organization? Well, India is the heavyweight, taking the top spot for both largest area and population. Afghanistan is the newest addition to the group, becoming the 8th member state back in 2007. Geographically, this region is incredibly diverse. You have the Maldives, which is a stunning archipelago made up of nearly 1,200 coral islands. And then you have entirely landlocked Himalayan nations like Nepal and Bhutan, which is famously known as the land of the Thunder Dragon. There's also the island nation of Sri Lanka, sitting just south of India. Economically speaking, Pakistan, India, Nepal, and Sri Lanka all use a variation of the rupee as their currency, while Bangladesh uses the taka. From regional cooperation in South Asia, we are zooming all the way out to the absolute biggest international stage there is, the United Nations Organization. 193, that is a massive number. It represents the total number of member states currently in the UN today. The United Nations was established on October 24, 1945, a date we actually celebrate globally now as UN Day, and its headquarters sits right in the heart of New York City. The primary purpose of this massive 193-member body, as laid out in its foundational treaty, the UN Charter, is absolutely critical: maintaining international peace and security. Now, to govern 1,900 nations, you obviously need a pretty complex structure. At the top of the power dynamic is the Security Council, where 5 permanent members, the USA, UK, France, Russia, and China, hold special veto power. But hey, the UN isn't just about high-level politics. These agencies are out there doing incredible life-saving work on the ground. You've got UNICEF, dedicated to the welfare of children worldwide, the WHO leading global public health, and UNESCO safeguarding our educational, scientific, and cultural advancements. All of this is coordinated by a Secretary General. The very first was Trygve Lie, by the way, operating across 6 official languages. This ensures everyone has equal representation in the General Assembly, while over in The Hague, the International Court of Justice acts as the principal judicial organ to handle legal disputes. All right, let's dive into our final section, Section 6, Wonders of Science and Tech. Let's do a quick mental reset before we finish up. Here is one of the most fundamental questions in all of physics. What is the speed of light in a vacuum? Take a split second, see if you can pull that exact number from your memory. Ready? Let's see. If you guessed around 300,000 kilometers per second, you nailed it. That is about 186,000 miles per second. Mind-blowing, right? These facts span the absolute macro to the micro. Up above, we've got Mercury sitting as the closest planet to the Sun in our solar system, while Saturn boasts those famously beautiful rings. Down on a subatomic level, we have the tiny, negatively charged electron. Back in the day, Sir Isaac Newton figured out the laws of motion and universal gravitation, and humanity literally used those laws to launch Sputnik 1, our first artificial satellite, into space in 1957. Meanwhile, Alexander Graham Bell inventing the telephone completely changed communication, paving the way for a world now run by computers using RAM, or random access memory. We've even learned to use generators to convert mechanical energy straight into electrical energy. To finish strong, let's look at the literal building blocks of life and chemistry. It all starts with the cell, the absolute fundamental unit of life, operating on the genetic instructions coded right there in our DNA. To keep us going, hemoglobin gives our red blood cells their color and transports oxygen throughout our bodies. We exhale carbon dioxide, which plants conveniently take in for photosynthesis, and we breathe an atmosphere made up of 78% nitrogen. Our planet protects this whole delicate balance with an ozone layer that absorbs harmful UV radiation from the sun. On the chemistry side, we've defined the boiling point of water at 100 degrees Celsius, assigned Au as the symbol for gold, and perhaps most importantly for modern medicine, we have Alexander Fleming to thank for discovering penicillin, the first true antibiotic, way back in 1928. And just like that, you have successfully powered through a 100-question marathon. Massive congratulations to all you focused learners out there for mastering this vast knowledge bank today. We've crossed continents, traveled through time, unpacked world religions, and literally touched the stars. So I'll leave you with this thought. Out of everything we structured and covered today, which fact actually surprised you the most? Keep asking questions, keep that curiosity alive, and I will see you in the next explainer.